Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
Hi, I'm Brittany Pacheco.
I have George Luda.
And now motherfucking Stormfront this bitch.
I didn't know what to do in the intro.
And I'm Nathan. And we are.
Yeah, we're the watchers in the basement.
And we're back.
Yeah, best start ever. Really good start, guys. Glad we prepared and worked on that so much. Practice makes perfect, and we didn't practice, so we're not perfect. Anyway, we are back to talk about the Boys, season 2 of The Boys, the popular Amazon Prime series. Probably our favorite show, I would say. Anyway, let's just get into it like right away. So the first 3 episodes dropped on September 4th. So we're here to review those first 3. Typically, it'll just be from here on out. It'll be 1 episode a week. Each Friday, a new episode will drop, and so the following Monday or Tuesday, we will review that episode. But the first week, we got the gargantuan task of doing 3 episodes in one show. Now, can we do it? We'll see. I'm not sure. We'll give it our best shot, though. So basically, let's go around the room. What does everyone think about the first 3 episodes of season 2? I'm going to start off with Brittany.
So, I've been looking forward to season 2 for quite some time, and we talked briefly some other podcasts that even before season 2 premiered, season 3 was already greenlit. So that's really cool. I think, well, maybe I'll save my. No, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I was looking forward to seeing all like the blood and the action, this and that, what have you. But I personally feel we didn't get a whole lot of it. Like what we did see was like, whoa, mind blowing or head blowing, pun intended. But I think it was a little bit of a slow start. What do you think, George?
I agree with you 100%, Britt. I thought compared to like the fast pace of the first season, because it literally started like right away. The action just started right away. The story started right away, and I think right now they're just taking the time to like basically like catch everybody up or like just let us check in on certain characters and how they're doing and what they're doing. But there hasn't been as much gruesome action as like we're used to or that I wanted to see. Like there has been some moments that you're like, wow, what just happened? Like that was crazy. But I think throughout the season as it goes along, it's definitely gonna get gorier, and I'm sure it'll get better.
Brink, what do you think about the first 3 episodes so far?
I didn't think it was necessarily slow, because with season 2, I think they did a great job of kind of like not just leaving off with the left off at in season 1, but kind of introducing new characters and new storylines, like Stormfront, like the aftermath of Stillwell dying. So I thought it was necessary to kind of reintroduce what happened in season 1 and kind of add elements to continue this great story arc of season 2. I love Stormfront's character. The actress that plays Stormfront, she was in a show called You're the Worst. It was an FX show, and she was the girlfriend of that show. And she's basically Stormfront. She's basically the same character, just a superhero in this show, like vulgar, very left field. So I love her character. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they play out with Homelander and that whole mix. But I love it. My only beef so far, and maybe they'll explain that as it goes on, the explanation of what happened with Butcher and Homelander at the end of season 1. Because as you remember, he wakes up, he's in the front lawn of their house, and he sees his wife for the first time and his stepson, I guess. So I want to know more explanation of how he got to the airport or wherever he was at in season 2. So, but I love it so far. It's still gory as it ever was. Like they have random gory scenes of like people getting decapitated and the heads getting crushed. It's like wow. But I love it so far. I think they're doing a great job, and I just hate that I have to wait a week for a new episode every week now instead of just unleashing everything at once.
Nathan, what about you? What are your overall thoughts?
So I'm mostly the same consensus as everybody else. I do feel it was a slower start than last season, but I've stopped and looked back on it because we talked about this a little bit before, and I thought, why is it that I feel it's a slower burn than last season, and or less action, that sort of thing, and I actually don't think that it is less. I think it might even be a little bit more because after rewatching season 1 a week ago and then rewatching it as well the week before that, I feel like season 1 we didn't know what to expect, so it was a lot more shocking when these things occurred. But season 2 had, I think, just as much, if not a little bit more, of the extreme gore so far in the first 3 episodes by comparison to season 1. I think the main difference is we don't have as much. We know the characters and we know the situation, so the only ones we have to really figure out right now is Stormfront and Edgar.
Right.
Most everybody else we know their background, of course, and the character that they fight in the store in the trailer, which we'll get to later. These are the only characters we really have to stop and figure out. Everybody else we know, so that intrigue is missing. Now, where I was upset is I feel a little bit cheated on where we left off with season 1 and how they resolved what happened. It stayed too much of a mystery at this point, and I really wanted to know, like, we better get it, the intricacies really of what happened on the lawn that day at the end of season 1.
Right.
So
Yeah.
But I've definitely been enjoying it.
Can we just give a quick shout out to our other watcher who made a brief appearance while Nathan was talking? Is Nathan's cat Jet?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Jet's a new character for season 2 also.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I agree with you and Frank, honestly. Like, I don't think it's been that slow to me. I feel like there's a lot going on. I think the only difference is between season 1 and season 2 is we know the characters in season 2. We didn't know them in season 1. And so they're not having to establish every person. But I do think that every character is kind of getting their moment. I mean, every character has something in these shows, which I think is pretty rare for that big of a cast to have. It feels like everyone has their own story. They're not just like, side parts to the main story. But I don't know, I really enjoy it. To me, it's a continuation of season 1. I mean, I think if you would have thrown these at the end of season 1 and kept going, I think it would have fit really well. I mean, obviously there's some time between season 1 and season 2. I don't know how long. Maybe it's been a couple months. It's really hard to tell that, but I do think that I think it's the same show to me. It's the same show I enjoyed last year. So
Nathan and Justin, I think I bring up a good point about how we didn't know what to expect in season 1 with the character development and with the character profiles of each character. Now we have a blueprint of how each character is like. We kind of, I think subconsciously a lot of people expected more with the combustion of reaction with characters, but I agree. I think it's the same as last season. I think the show does a great job of like conveying each character element and what each character is going through personally. From I was gonna say Flash, but what's his name?
A-Train.
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 Woo!
Yeah. From A-Train and his after effects of taking the V in season 1, and he brought up another feature storyline when he was talking to Starlight about how he was upset about Starlight talking about unleashing the secrets of V and how it's going to affect the bottom line and how he grew up poor,
Right.
and how it's going to affect him. I thought that gives you an insight of like maybe what's to come of his upbringing. We kind of saw that in season 1. They didn't really talk about his parents, but how close he was with his brother, and how he talked about how winning that race last season, how he needed to win that race in order to keep that fame going and keep the money coming in. So I think that was a good context clue how he grew up, and Starlight, her going through what she's going through, want to be a hero, but the politics involved. So I think the show does a great job of really like showing the complexities of each character, as how you proverbial superhero TV show.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all the characters are kind of complex. There's no like one note people in this show, really. I don't. I mean, not that I can tell right now. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I mean, for example, Stormfront, the newest character, newest member of the Seven. I mean, her arc in these first 3 episodes is kind of crazy because like, you know, she makes her debut on the scene, and you know, I kind of liked her. You know, like I liked the character, and then like the end of season 3, it's like I guess one of her powers is she's also super racist. So I didn't see that part coming, but it's interesting. I think all the characters like they kind of keep you on your toes. You never feel like you're, you know, like who's who or what's what. I mean, like even with the boys, like it's, you know, they don't all get along. You know, like obviously Huey and Butcher especially. There's kind of like a power struggle, sort of like not really, but Huey definitely thinks he has a better idea of how they should go about things, but Butcher's Butcher, and he's going to be the leader. So let's just go ahead and get in the first episode. So the first episode is called The Big Ride. I'm going to pass the ball to Brittany and let her take it from there. Brittany, it's your show.
So basically when we left off season 1, it was basically with this notion of Soups. You know, Vought wanted Soups to get into the military, and we're kind of at that stage now where, because we left off with a super terrorist by the name of Nakib, it's like, okay, now we're going to start discussing Soups in the military. So I'm going to kind of talk to George, because this was one of our one of the first scenes that we saw last time we talked about the boys and Black Noir. So George, tell us what happened with Black Noir and Nakib.
No, man. I didn't expect that. I thought there was going to be more of a storyline from that terrorist for some reason. I don't know why I thought they were going to make like a big deal, because it kind of ended like it was in the first season. Like he was going to be like continuous, and for them to just kill him off within like the first 2 minutes of the show was pretty hilarious. So just seeing Black Noir in action, because we haven't really seen him in action other than with when he fought Kimiko. That dude is cold. Like he is a straight up killer, and we saw that there, and he literally just killed everybody like nothing. But then you see him, like he has an emotional side to him. Like he plays with the kid with the little teddy bear. And throughout the other episodes, like we start like noticing like he has feelings and like these emotions. And I think I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with his character, and like we get to learn more about him. So hopefully we get to learn a lot more about Black Noir, because he's one of my favorite characters right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the fact that with Nakib's, I guess, powers, he lights up and he burns up, and somehow Black Noir was able to survive that. So, and yes, we talked about this in our last Boys kind of recap. That dude seems virtually indestructible, which is kind of cool but kind of scary at the same time. So, you know, fast forward to after that whole ordeal of Black Noir killing Nakib, we see that we're at a funeral, and Translucent's funeral. Nathan, I've got a question I want to ask you real quick. Do you think that Translucent was actually in that glass casket?
Not at all. In fact, the entire spectacle of it, as they're putting on a show about the death of Translucent, and they have a glass casket that supposedly has his body in it. And I thought it kind of amusing, because the one thing the Seven have never really been, and Vought has never really been to the public, is transparent. And even in the death of Translucent, they're still not being transparent, which I find kind of ironic.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that statement. So it's like you said, I think you said it well. The whole funeral is a spectacle. Homelander is like giving the speech about we're gonna save America, Starlight, who by the way, Erin Moriarty, who plays Starlight, she actually did sing that song, so she's quite talented in my opinion. But then afterwards, we're seeing Homelander and Starlight give interviews outside of the Samaritan's Embrace, which, as we all know, is a Vought charity. So, Frank, what were your thoughts on the Homelander Starlight interview? Because he reached out and grabbed her hand. Like, did you? Because I know I had some questions about that. What did you think?
Yeah, I just think he's a weirdo. I think Homelander is just a weirdo, and he's that creeper at work that ignores every single code of conduct sign in the code of conduct handbook at work. And I think his upbringing in the laboratory plays a huge role in that. You see that in season 1 when he's drinking the breast milk, like that odd Oedipus complex he had with Stillwell. And he's a guy that just doesn't know boundaries. And because he's indestructible and because he's quote unquote a god, he doesn't feel like there's no boundaries that are set inside. And Starlight look uncomfortable. But you can tell off screen that Starlight has been prepped. She's been coached since last season. So she handles it very well as compared to last season, how she was always battling every single PR advice that was given to her. So you can tell if that was last season Starlight, she probably would have jumped back or said something. But because of like the what happened in season 1, I think she does a better job of like concealing everything and does a better job with a poker face. But yeah, I thought that was very, very odd in itself with Homelander. And he's a mark of a great villain. Like he gives me Ramsay from Game of Thrones vibes. He's very unpredictable. And I think that's a great sign of a great mark of a villain when they're so unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to do on screen. I'm always on the edge of my seat every time he's on screen because you don't know what he's going to do. You don't know if he's going to fly off the handle. You don't know if he's going to be a creeper. You don't know if he's going to go with the flow. He's just very unpredictable. But yeah, that was a very, very creepy scene.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm glad that you mentioned about the unpredictability that is Homelander because we're going to get to a particular scene that, you just didn't know how he was going to react. And I'm going to actually pick on George because I know that's like a total WTF moment for him. So past the interview, now we're finding out where the boys are. They're in hideout. Huey, Frenchie, they're hiding out with the Haitian Kings, which are like a gang, I guess, in New York for safe passage. And we also see really quickly that A-Train is still in a coma because, as y'all remember, he had like that heart attack at the very end of season 1. Starlight goes and visits him in the hospital. But she and Huey are sneaking out to meet because Huey has this idea of getting more Compound V to, expose Vought for what it is, right? And so let's talk about the Deep, Justin. Deep hasn't really been having a good time, since he's been away from the 7. So what's your take on Deep?
I don't think he has anything to complain about. Sandusky, Ohio is beautiful. I mean, it's a wonderful place to be. No, actually, Ohio is like probably the worst state in the 50 state. I mean, as far as like living there, I couldn't imagine. I've been to Ohio one time. I'll never go back. So, I mean, let's put it this way: LeBron James left Cleveland not once but twice. There's a reason. But the Deep, yeah, he's still bad. He's still he's trying to find his way. After what happened in the first season, and he's hitting the sauce pretty hard. So am I, apparently, even though I haven't been. I can't talk. But he stumbles into this weird situation where he's with this archer, this guy named Eagle the Archer, which is kind of a funny like arrow. What's the character? What's the Marvel character? Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, like a Marvel arrow kind of guy, and it's very strange. Like the guy's like been brainwashed. Looks like he's like a part of some like religious cult. And for some reason they're talking about Fresca. Fresca is always like a key part of the discussion, which is weird. Because I don't know about you, but there's nothing I hate more than product placement. I hate product placement so much. I can't stand it. I cannot stand product placement. And also, it's Fresca, and I'm a LaCroix boy. I drink LaCroix.
What
so
flavor is that,
Wait.
Dustin?
Wait. What happened to Hint?
I still drink Kent also, but
Okay.
for joke
thinks
purposes, yeah.
Yeah, we
LaCroix.
can probably have a better shot with LaCroix at a sponsorship. So
Right. It's the watermelon one. It's pretty good. Yeah,
I like that.
honestly, it tastes like nothing. Like I've had like several LaCroix, and they all taste like nothing. They're just bubbly water. So don't buy LaCroix. Buy Hint.
oh, there goes that sponsorship.
Yeah.
That was quick.
That's what she said. Moving on. So, whoever wants to answer first, what did y'all think of the Butcher and Stillwell reenactment on that show, talking about all of that? Go.
I'll field this one.
Okay.
I absolutely loved it. I was like, man, they kind of nailed it, like far better than I would have thought, which I found very amusing. And honestly, the fact that they couldn't have actually been there unless they had some hidden piped to some cloud server cameras and audio in there. It's I have to almost wonder if they did have something to that effect, because it was a little too close. And how else would, outside of Homelander telling them what he said and what happened, would they know? Which could be what happened.
Yeah, I think Homelander told him that. I'm pretty sure. I just like the part that Chris Hansen's the guy who's like, it's his show. Chris Hansen from famously from To Catch a Predator. He's hosting that show.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
Yep. So, so I have a question, because with this reenactment of what happened, supposedly what happened, it then leaves off with, Stillwell's baby. Like, how the hell is that baby still alive? I have questions that need answers. Did Homelander save the baby? Is the baby a soup?
That's what I'm wondering.
I mean, y'all have any other theories, like other than that? Anyone? I mean, are we pretty much on the same page?
I think that Homelander must have saved that baby. Like, I can't see the other way around it. I don't know why he cares.
He hated that baby.
He hated that baby. I don't know. I don't see how it survived.
Right. Like, I need that to be answered.
So I've got to. I'm gonna postulate something for a moment. So we have seen from numerous of the soups of the seven a redemptive story arc. We've seen it with Maeve. We've seen it with A-Train to a degree. I think he's coming around. We've seen it with the Deep. We even seen it with Starlight. Yes, redemptive even for her, because she had to come to grips with who being a soup was for her and realize where the side of right really fell. So we've seen from so many of the soups this redemption arc going on. So what happens if Homelander isn't the ultimate big bad guy that we think he is, and there's the beginnings of a redemption arc for him, and someone like Stormfront or someone yet to be introduced is an even bigger threat to the boys and everyone else? What if that's I know I'm going way left field here, but that's the only way I could really see Homelander saving Madeline's baby. Is an attempt at a pseudo redemption arc for him. But I don't know. Is Homelander even beyond redemption?
George
Maybe.
doesn't agree.
I do not. Nathan, I will buy you lunch if that happens.
I won't lie. I will be surprised as all if that actually occurs. Like that's why I'm like that's why I go with the original thing I said. I think the baby's a soup. I think the baby's actually a soup.
I think you're right, Nathan. I think that would make more sense, because I don't see it going that far left. Like there's no way he would come back and be a hero when he let hundreds of people die on that airplane. Like I just can't see it. If it is, then that's gonna be the twist of the century for me.
Yeah. That would almost feel like at this point, like jumping the shark for them to do that. But they'd have to do that. They'd need more than 4 episodes. Yeah. Unlike some other characters we've known from recent pop culture.
So moving on, there's contention between the boys, being Huey, Frenchie, MM. The guys want Butcher back. Huey doesn't because of how things left off in season 1. Huey is trying to kind of like lead the boys, but it's just not going over very well. In the meantime, Homelander is still obsessed with milk, and particularly Madeline Stillwell's last bottle of frozen breast milk. That was probably the grossest thing I've ever seen, because like Frank had said, it's like this Oedipus concept, and it's just gross, and it's just like, it made me cringe. Like, Frank, did it make you cringe?
It did, and I think that scene, it symbolizes that he subconsciously misses Stillwell. Even though he did what he did to her last season, I think him purposely keeping that breast milk and sipping on it and like making it last, I think that's him showing the audience that, even though I did what I did, that don't mean I didn't love her, in his weird, twisted, Oedipus complex way. Even like regular milk, when he was at the breakfast table with his son and baby mama, you can see himself sipping on that too. It's like anything that do with milk, he symbolizes it. It is connected to Stillwell, because Stillwell was basically the mother that he never had, in a weird, twisted way, because he didn't grow up in a traditional household. He grew up in a lab with a lab assistant masquerading as his mother. So he never had that parental guidance growing up. So even now, he's an overgrown man-child with no boundaries. I think Stillwell was the only guide that he ever had.
Yeah, I agree with that. One thing too that kind of surprised me, I don't know if it surprised y'all, was seeing Ashley from PR. She's back, and she's back to fill Stillwell's shoes, and she has a proposal to replace Translucent in the 7. And I really want George to talk about this, because I know this is a WTF moment. Take it away, George.
This was that was my first like what the fuck moment for this show, because they introduced him to this like Daredevil looking character that he's basically blind, but his hearing, he can maneuver and do all these cool things, and he's just doing all this badass stuff in the background. And I feel so bad for the kid, because he's young, right? And he has like he sees like Homelander as his hero, like basically how the public sees him. They see him as this good guy, and he's just so excited to meet him. He's like, he worked so hard to get to this level, and then just Homelander just comes and shits all over his dreams, because he meets him or whatever, and he asks him a question, and then he's like, what if I do this? And he just claps on his ears, and his eardrums just burst, and he's bleeding on the ground. And at that moment, I just busted out in laughter, because I thought it was way too funny.
Because you're a horrible person.
It was hilarious.
I'm right there with you on that one. I was laughing so hard. I knew it was coming too. Like there was no surprise about the moment. It was just waiting for it to happen, and then the payoff that I got what I was hoping for. Yeah.
Honestly, he had a point though, because I never would have thought of that. Like, if you're a bad guy, like how you could beat Daredevil or something. Now we know.
Yeah. Well, fun trivia fact: Blind Spot, which is the soup that we were talking about, was actually created for the show. He does not exist in the boys comic book world, but there's also another character that was created specifically for the show, and that character is Gecko. Now, briefly talked about how Huey and Starlight met up to try to recruit someone to get more Compound V. Gecko is the guy. Frank, you want to talk about this, about what happened with Gecko and what Starlight caught him doing?
How can I say this without being vulgar? So Gecko is in a motel room with a client. the client has a fixation, and like it's a weird fixation past normal behavior. It's like an S&M type of deal where he's like literally like chopping off limbs off a gecko. So when you see it, you're like, dude, he's not gonna miss his arm. But then like it automatically grows back after the client chops it off, and then after that's done, he says, you want to chop off my. Can I say it on air, or am I allowed to say that?
Man part.
Do it.
You can't chop off my dick off. And it's like, what the hell is going on? Like, what the heck? So like, that was a very very weird scene, and you could tell that wasn't his first time with that client. Like it was like a normal thing, a normal occurrence with that client. So Starlight gets footage on a smartphone of him doing that just to basically blackmail him into getting more Compound V, because he works in a lab where the Compound V is being harbored. So so that was a very. This show does a great job of introducing like things I've never seen before, and I'm a very defiled, weird individual, and it hits my limits sometimes. So that was a very interesting scene.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. It was really something I wasn't expecting. Again, that's another WTF moment. I know we were privately talking about, the first episode when it first aired, and I know a couple of y'all watched the first episode before I did, and you were kind of all like, okay, I need to talk about this. Like, there were 3 WTF moments, and like, I need to talk about this. So, but I'm going to kind of fast forward through this so that we can get to the second episode. So the boys are encountering a new soup terrorist, presumably, who has been human trafficked into the United States. And Kimiko finds a clue at the scene where this, boat was overturned due to the soup's power. So also the Deep, as we mentioned before, is he's about to embark on a new journey with the Church of the Collective, which is a very mysterious religious organization, if you will. And supposedly it's going to help him get back into the Seven. As I said, Kimiko, found a clue at the scene. She's trying to communicate with Frenchie because, as we saw, she's learning how to write in English. And so she writes the word boy. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to Frenchie and the rest of the boys, but that's kind of what's happening. One trivia fact I do want to share with you guys: the speech that Huey is talking or makes when he's trying to kind of say, I can be that awesome person that no one expected. He names off Harry Potter. What's his name? John Connor from Terminator. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he mentioned, he couldn't remember, he's like the lead in the Hunger Games, and Frenchie surprisingly says Katniss. The funny fact about this is that Jack Quaid was in the movie The Hunger Games, and he actually was shot by Katniss during the games, which I thought was kind of funny. Like,
wait, he was in Hunger Games? Which one?
Yeah. In the first one. He was in the first one. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. All right, Justin, let's talk about Stormfront. You initially said that you were kind of a fan of her.
I just think she's funny. Like she's definitely like ironic, I guess, maybe, like the way she uses social media. Like I think the first scene we see her is when she walks up on the commercial shoot where Homelander and Queen Maeve are shooting a pro-military kind of ad, and she's like doing Instagram live, and she's telling people, "Oh, this is not a real, military base." And I don't know. She just kind of like that kind of like smart ass kind of plucky character, like, or at least she was in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
After that it changed. I mean, episode 3, she definitely had a major heel turn, as we would say in the wrestling business.
Because you wrestle.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about a heel turn with the boys. They decide that they're going to go meet with Deputy Director of the CIA, Susan Rayner, and it doesn't go as according to plan. Nathan, you want to talk about what happened with that meeting?
Oh, Yeah, actually, there's something, but I'll come to it later with Stormfront. And before I talk about that, I want to make sure everyone's down with the potential spoiler. But we'll get there later if we get there. So yeah, they're meeting with Raynor, and actually, I can't even recall everything about it. My mind's so much on Stormfront at the moment. But what was interesting, we saw an ability used we haven't seen used yet. And the only reason we know this soup that's out there is from one of the trailers, because you see them in a hallway use their ability to explode somebody. They didn't just do the head. So I don't know who this person's name is. We'll call her Sploder Girl for now. Head Popper. Cherry Popper. No, we'll just go away from there.
Cherry Bomb.
Cherry Bomb. There we go. I don't know what her name's going to be, but I don't know if she's one of the terrorists out there or what. But I've got to figure someone's got a leash on her, because she clearly targeted Raynor, who is about to divulge information to the boys that is showing that there's even a deeper layer than they're aware of currently. And we don't know what that is, and she went away before we had a chance to find that out. So it will be interesting to find out when we find out what that actually was.
Yeah.
And it was yet another one of those very gross scenes that were definitely prevalent in the show, but I think we are a little desensitized. And now it takes things like sipping breast milk to be, yeah. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing about that scene where Raynor loses her head, literally she loses her head because they explode it. If y'all notice, and this is probably the thing I like about the show the most, is The Boys creates this world where things are happening to all the characters, but there's constant promotion and ads for the superheroes. So in the scene with Raynor, she gets decapitated, and right above her is this billboard for a movie called Dawn of the Seven, which I love the sign, because obviously it's leading to like a seven, the seven like Avengers type movie, but it's in the same font as Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. So I love that, because they're definitely poking at the fact that movie was trash, and they're making fun of it.
Yeah.
But again, that's that stuff right there. I love that stuff. I love the Starlight has a TV show called Citizen Starlight that they're promoting, and A-Train has a pair of running shoes that are they're trying to hawk, and I don't know if y'all caught this, but there's one part where Starlight is she's in a cab, and her song is playing on the radio or whatever, and they mention in the ad that that you can listen to her songs on Vodify. And I just want to point out that we're not on Vodify. However, we are on Spotify. So look for the Watchers in the Basement on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. Where else are we?
Plug-in.
But not Vodify.
Not a Vodify, not yet.
We're also on Facebook. As should be obvious at this point if you're watching this on the live stream.
Facebook, is it more evil than Vod? Probably
Frank,
so.
you were going to
Give him
say
time.
something. What's up?
Something that Justin said that caught my attention. Oh, the Dawn of the Seventh thing. So I don't know if you guys know. I'm sure Nathan knows. So the Boys was carried by DC at first, but it was so graphic, he dropped them. So that's probably why you see that plug, that little poking fun plug at Dawn of Justice and Dawn of the Seven, because DC was a carrier of the Boys comic book, but they got dropped.
But I also think it's because Dawn of Justice is such a cheesy name for a movie. And so Dawn of the Seven is like a cheesier, version of that.
Well, the Seven is the Justice League, so
basically.
Yeah.
But I do think it they didn't choose the Seven in game, or they didn't choose the Seven Assemble or something. They definitely went with the DC stuff.
Yeah.
Not because they are kind of associated with DC, but also they're poking fun at DC, I believe. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. So to wrap up this first episode, Raynor suggested there's maybe Vod has an inside job. There's a coup that's being staged, and we do see Mr. Edgar, speak with Homelander. We've never seen Mr. Edgar talk to any of the Supes before, and mind you, this was the first mention of Soldier Boy, who we will see in season 3. But we learned the real story of Frederick Vought, the founder of Vought, and basically it's not a superhero company. It's a pharmaceuticals company disguised as a superhero company. And I love the fact that he calls Homelander man-child and calls him out for his shit, because the fact that, now we have soup terrorists or soup villains in the world because of Homelander, and it's caused a big mess. Homelander is, the man-child that he is. He goes and runs off to find, or to go see Becca and their son Ryan. And welcome back, Butcher. The boys are excited, except Huey. And I have questions like y'all. Where's he been? Why is he in a tracksuit that resembles Homelander's uniform? Y'all catch that? No?
I didn't catch that.
I noticed the colors. It was definitely kind of weird. It might have been like a soccer thing. I don't know.
I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, we know Butcher's been really obsessed with Homelander because of what happened with Becca, and now that he has the information that Becca's alive and Homelander has a child with her, I'm sure it's driving him crazy. He's gonna be immersed in this, ongoing obsession of, Homelander, Becca, and how do I get her out of there? So, end episode 1. All right, so let's go into episode 2, which is entitled Proper Preparation and Planning.
Something we lack, except for
Very much.
Brittany.
Well,
Because Justin doesn't even have his notes written down this time.
not even jokes.
I don't.
Not even jokes. Good Lord. But the scene where Butcher's looking over the notes, did it remind y'all of when he was rewatching the video of Becca in season 1? Yeah, y'all got that? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So he jots down notes from what he can recall of being in the front yard, in front of the house, and that whole encounter for seeing Becca. And he's left in front of Tony Cicero's. Quick, who can name it? What's the significance of Tony Cicero's?
In the first season.
Season 1.
Yay!
It's where they blew up Translucent.
Oh, yeah.
Atta
RIP.
boy. So proud of y'all. But he's in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So that's really curious as to, okay, was that where Becca is? Because the girl, the hostess at Tony Cicero says she's there in Fort Wayne.
Like Sandusky, it's beautiful there.
I'll take your word for it. Himiko continues to try to communicate with Frenchie by writing boy, girl, boy. That's not anything kinky. There's a message. Okay. And the hostility between Butcher and Huey ensues. What do y'all think of Homelander's relationship with his son Ryan? Because we finally have a name to his son. George, what do you make of it?
The father of the year. He's the greatest dad of all time. I mean, so far, what we've seen, he's done a pretty great job raising him, and he's trying to make up for all the years he missed.
Oh Lord!
I mean, the kid has a great nickname. Flying Ryan is such an awesome.
That's a good one.
That's good. Frank, you talked a little bit earlier about how you want explanation of how and why Butcher's alive, and it kind of was briefly answered by Homelander to Becca that there was a deal that was made, and that deal is alive and running around like free as a bird, basically. So I'm assuming that the deal is Homelander gets to see his son, and he'll let Butcher live.
Well, you know what's crazy about that quote unquote deal, Brittany? That Homelander goes out of his way and says, "I'm a god." Like I think there's a scene where he's talking to his son, like, we're gods, and sometimes it's lonely at the top, or some variation of that. So if you're Homelander who does what he wants, when he wants, how he wants, why are you making a deal with a human, with your baby mama who's a mere mortal, that you can just overpower and come see your son anytime you want? I feel like, because like he does things on a whim anytime he wants, but at the same time you make a deal just to keep Butcher alive. I don't get that when you can simply just do what you want. Go ahead, Nathan.
So to that, I think the reason why is because the mother figure is so important to Homelander in his mind that it is its own kind of power, if you follow me. And while yes, she's just a mortal, whatever have you, she's also mother figure, and he knows how important a mother figure or lack thereof was to him. So I think he doesn't want to take that away from his son. Is really why I think he would make a deal like that.
Well, but see, Homeland counteracts that, Nathan, because even like when all three of them are around each other, the son, the mom, and him, he basically defies everything that she says anyways. You know what I'm saying? Because the mother doesn't want the little boy to demonstrate his powers. But then again, Homeland is like, screw that. He's my son. I'm gonna teach him the game about being a superhero. So he kind of goes back and forth in like honoring what a mother figure is to a child, or in general.
Honoring, but that doesn't necessarily, in his mind, make it an authoritative voice. In other words, he also disobeyed Madeline Stillwell, his surrogate mother, all the time. So,
True.
As the saying goes, which it's not the greatest, but considering the name of the show, I suppose it works. Boys will be boys. Is probably Homelander's approach to that. And while the mother figure is a necessary part in his son's life, he feels, because he didn't have it, he also is very much of the opinion of my son will be raised to be like me, so he's going to use his powers. I'm not gonna shelter him from that.
He definitely needs to get the kid in baseball camp. The kid's terrible at baseball. I mean, he can't throw,
really
he
is.
can't catch. I mean, it's really pathetic. I mean,
So guys, and this is a question for the panel, whoever wants to answer. So we find out in season 1 that Compound B is basically the impetus, the foundation of how superheroes are being created, right? So in season 2, episode 2, we pretty much find out that superheroes can also be created through the old-fashioned way, hereditary, bearing children and impregnating somebody. So does Vought know that? Because if Vought doesn't know that, I would assume if Vought knew that, they would just be harboring superheroes through impregnating women and creating superheroes like that instead of getting Compound V. What do you guys think?
That's a really good question, because I did think the same. It's like, well, would Ryan technically be the first like natural born type superhero, or did Becca allow him to be injected with Compound V? I don't think she would, but it does raise a really good question. But I do want to kind of move along, if y'all are okay with that. Girls Get It Done is like a new campaign because it's the first time that Vought has had 3 women in the 7, but Maeve quickly bounces because of a family emergency, and we find out that her undercover
lover,
that too, ex-girlfriend was in the hospital, the work called, and her name is Maggie Shaw, which I thought was kind of interesting because we still don't know like
no, Maggie Shaw is Maeve.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, listen, Justin. Anyway, but Maeve's undercover name is Maggie Shaw. Don't really know, about the rest of the supers, if they've got like alter egos, if you will. But the Girls Get It Done thing was kind of funny because Stormfront keeps it real, right? And we see the return of A-Train. So Justin, with A-Train's return, what do you make of his dynamic with Starlight?
I mean, he definitely knows something's up. He knows. He remembers what happened in season 1 when he went into cardiac arrest or whatever happened to him in that moment. He knows about Huey. He knows about how Huey's with Starlight or Annie, and they both have something on the other person. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic, but as we see in the episode, like, it's resolved in the next episode and a half. So like, it doesn't, like, that storyline, that Compound V, and like the fact that she has it and that she wants to give it to the New York Times or to NBC or whatever, to a media outlet to get it out there, like, that could have been like an overarching storyline. But by the end of episode 3, it's out there. And like, that's what's so surprising about the show to me. Like, it doesn't, there's lots of times where they could like slow down a lot more and really milk everything. That's not a Homelander joke. That's just me talking. They could really milk it for all it's worth, and they don't. They just like
Mother's milk it.
right. There's no stop sign. It's all go, with that show. And so, yeah.
So, George, I want to talk about the weird gateway that the Deep is going through. What do you make of his gateway experience?
So he had a little mushroom trip, and he just starts like talking to his gills. Like he starts having like these deep conversation with his gills, and basically his gills are like his positive like reinforcement, just trying to be nice to him. Also, did you notice the voice of the gills was Patton Oswalt?
Yep.
I know I told you, Britt, but I don't know if any other guys caught that, because I was like, wait a minute, I know that voice.
George, I had to watch that scene twice. I had to watch it the next day because I had to watch it like a couple hours later because I was under the influence. It was tripping me. It was really tripping me out as well, and I was like, "What the hell's going on? Is it me or is this the actual show?" So I watched 2 hours. Okay, it's the show. That was on purpose. Okay, got it.
That's funny.
You are so beautiful to me.
Their harmonizing was so funny to me. I mean, but it was crazy to watch.
My question about that though, okay, so obviously he was under the influence of mushrooms, right? The Deep was. So do the gills, were the gills like a figment of his imagination because of the? I can't talk today. I'm sorry. This has just been an off day for me. I'm not bringing my A game, my B game, my C game. I have no game.
Bring the A train.
the A train. I need some compound V stat. No, but what I'm saying is like, do they talk ever, like besides when he's not high on mushrooms, or is it just because of that?
It's just because of that.
Okay. Yeah. So you haven't tripped before. This much is now evident. But yeah, no, his gills don't talk. Patton Oswalt does not live inside his belly.
But I mean, do we know that though? Because I don't
We know that.
Okay.
We know that.
I'm just saying.
That'd
Now,
be very weird.
What we don't know, and I have this is like a legitimate question, is when we see Becca like trying to escape, it seems, the town that they're in after dropping off her son. There's like this wall. Do they live like in a compound? Like I was getting the Village kind of vibes. If y'all have checked out the Village, M. Night Shyamalan, and is everyone in the town in on it? By the way, the license plate said Colorado. I don't know if it's legit or not, but it did say Colorado. So it's like, do they live in a compound? Is everyone in on it? Who the hell is Dr. Park? Questions I need answers to eventually. But we're gonna keep moving on. We're gonna keep powering.
Real quick on that, I'm personally speculating that they learned from the Homelander mistake, and they've learned from the Soups in the Wild, so they're now like drawing together all the Soups, and they're living that's not potentially the only one in that community. Just a thought, possibly.
Okay, that's a good thought.
Yep.
Well, Maeve finally confides to Elena, her ex-girlfriend, why they can't be together, because Maeve is scared to death of Homelander because of how unpredictable he is. We've talked about this already. And like what Frank was mentioning earlier, how Homelander has a moment with his son, we're gods, we're not like everyone else. And Homelander basically says, to Becca, I'm not going anywhere, despite whatever you told Dr. Park. Like, you can tell him to F off, like, I'm not going anywhere. Frank, let's talk about the Soup terrorists and the boys trying to go and apprehend the Soup terrorists, because Butcher had gone to Mallory, who was, the colonel, if you will, of the boys. And she said, bring in the Soup and I'll help you ultimately find Becca. So, Frank, let's talk about the boys trying to go after the supposed Soup terrorist.
Yeah, so Butcher cut a side deal with what's her name again? I'm
Mallory.
So with Mallory about if you catch a Soup terrorist, then I can help you get the wife back, right? So they go find the soup terrorist. Well, come to find out, the Soup terrorist is the sibling to Kimiko. So which lies the conflict of interest because Kamiko was quote unquote part of the boys, but that's her brother, and they came up in the concentration camp that got infiltrated, and all those members of the concentration camp got injected with compound B. So that's all they had was just him and her. So she's conflicted because that's her brother. At the same time, she wants to get down the boys. So they found the brother. They finally apprehend him, and they put him on the boat because Butcher made a side deal with Mallory to bring him to a safe house, one of the government safe houses, to make the swap, right?
Yeah.
And well, when that happens, they're at sea, and something happens.
Time out. Because now we're going into episode 3.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Finishing episode 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, you're on a roll. I like it. But just to really wrap up episode 2, basically, is that there's a lot of side conversations going on among Starlight and Stormfront. Stormfront thinks that Starlight is like the vaughtiest bot of Vought, that she's just so stage handled and whatnot. And so there's like conflict there. Starlight has conflict with A-Train, and A-Train basically tries to say like, hey, I'm going to expose you for this compound B that you've got from Gecko. And she's like, nah, like, kill Popclaw. You don't want that information to get out there, which I think George and you talked about this. Like, why would that even matter at this point?
I don't even think that matters. Like, who cares? Like, he's killed. I'm sure that's not the first person he's killed. Like, what's it gonna do to his image? It doesn't matter. They can cover it up or hide it or whatever.
But I think Starlight knows A-Train's not very bright. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Vought
He's
does
an idiot.
dirt for a living. They cover shit up for a living. So for A-Train and then like Homelander knew about it. Like, I think Homelander's the one that put the order in, right, to get Popclaw knocked off. Yeah. So
basically,
A-Train was so afraid of being exposed, like as if Vought would care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think one thing that caught my attention is that A-Train just seems very ungrateful that Starlight didn't save his life. Like, dude, you're alive because of Starlight. Like, why are you so apprehensive and so adversarial towards her? Because if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, definitely. So that's wrapping up episode 2 of The Boys. Let's move right on into episode 3, which is entitled Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men, which is a title from the comics itself. And we've heard, Justin, a lot of Billy Joel in the first 3 episodes of season 2. We all know that Huey's a huge fan of Billy Joel, and this song that opens with them the boys are on the boat on the water because, like Frank was saying, they've got the Kimiko's brother who they need to bring in, and he was obsessed with this one song called You're Only Human. So what do you make of that?
I think the main line in it is he talks about how he's looking for his second win because Huey's in this like slump and he's trying to find, his whole life has just been crazy since all this stuff happened. Like Robin, his girlfriend, was killed right in front of him. Like A-Train literally ran through her and killed her, and he's been with the boys. He's seen people heads explode. He's seen all kinds of crazy stuff, and I think he's just like mentally like beaten down and tired. And he's a Billy Joel fan, so he's like locked in on these songs. And they showed him he's watching the video for this song in a couple of episodes, maybe all 3 of the episodes. He might be. I think he is. I think he's watching it, and. This song, I wasn't familiar with the song at all. I never heard of it before the show. I mean, I'd heard the other one. There's a song called Pressure they play in episode 1. And that actually kind of opens and closes the show. But I wasn't familiar with this song. But he's looking for his second win. He thinks that Starlight / Annie is his second win. So.
I agree with that entirely. So because Kimiko's brother, by the way, his name is Kenji. He's also created for the show. He doesn't exist in the comics at all. He's tied up on the boat because he uses his hands for his, abilities. His hands are duct taped, and this is pretty important because it'll come into play later. But I'm going to jump to Nathan because you, as an artist, a filmmaker, I'm sure you're very familiar with storyboards when it comes to creating a video of sorts. And we do see a storyboard pitch for the Dawn of the Seven, which is something we've already talked about before. What did you make of that whole scene of the director to the Seven?
So I'm going to be completely honest with you. I really don't remember that scene at all. It just didn't resonate with me, I guess. I don't know. Or I was preoccupied. This was episode 3. And episode 3 I watched at like 2 a.m, so I was really tired. Because I binged Thursday night when it came out. So episode 3 is kind of blurry to me. I only remember some really big significant moments and then one other thing that popped out to me, which was a conversation. But I might be confusing that with 2 when he spoke with Mallory over the phone about liberty.
Nope, that was in episode 3.
I remember that because that wasn't the first time liberty had come up in the show.
Yeah.
So that goes into this whole Stormfront thing, which if we have time we'll go into. If not, maybe not, because it could be a big spoiler.
Put a pin in that. Okay, yes, so not that it really matters, but I just thought it was kind of a funny moment because they bring up Hans Zimmer, they bring up Lin-Manuel Miranda, who was in Hamilton. If you guys haven't watched Hamilton, I'm talking to my guy specifically, you need to watch it. It's life-changing. Amazing. George, you hurt me, sir.
I don't like musicals.
Oh, it's awesome,
really don't
though.
like musicals.
You know what? It's actually pretty good. I'm not even being funny. It's actually good. I like it.
George, I'm in your
Yeah.
boat, and I have seen it. It was pretty good, but it was not life-changing for me.
I feel like I'm gonna be Larry David when he goes to watch Hamilton and he falls asleep during the show.
You guys are heartless. You're just heartless. Justin, you're good in my book. Frank, I don't know if you've seen Hamilton yet, but you need to check it out. At least check out the opening. Check out the opening and then tell me you don't like it. Okay.
Fine.
I will say there are some good songs in it. Like
There are.
There are actually some catchy tunes.
King George
but-
is hilarious.
Okay, that alone, like you can just watch clips of that, is fantastic.
I think that's Justin's favorite
yeah.
character.
Yeah, the song's called "You'll Be Back." It's really
Yeah,
good. It's,
yeah.
I mean, there you go.
Okay, moving on.
That's it.
Breaking news, everyone. Vought is full of shit because soups are not born; they're made. And
Made in the USA.
well, Compound V presumably is, but yeah, that's like the biggest news that we pretty much see in this episode because now Vought is being exposed for who they truly are. But Homelander's nowhere to be found because of the fact that he's spending so much time, being, as George said, Father of the Year. And the Deep.
I need that T-shirt, World's Greatest Dad.
Yeah. The Deep is also, coming to terms with this reality. Even Black Noir. I mean, y'all checked out how emotional Black Noir was, right? We see that softer side of him. But the Deep goes into detail about how he first noticed his powers at the age of 9 that were deemed a gift. And I just want to point this out that this is more or less the same age that Homelander's son Ryan is, and this might come into play, later on in this episode, the significance of the age, because he's roughly, let's say, 8, maybe going on 9. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah,
Because
I'd say he's about
Probably.
that age.
Yeah.
But I think he's starting to exhibit some powers because Homelander just
Oh, yeah.
pushing it.
Yeah.
I mean, literally pushing him off the freaking roof.
Yep. Flying Ryan.
Ryan.
Crash landing.
Yep. Definitely. I kind of got like this Jamie and Bran complex of, the things I do for love. Boom. Frank, you were talking about Kenji, who's Kimiko's brother. He's tied up, with the boys on the boat. What happens when Frenchie leaves an aluminum can with Kenji?
I swear, man, I feel like Frenchie's the weak link to the boys, man. Cause even off screen back in the day, he was the reason why Mallory's grandkids got killed by lamplighter.
You weren't there. You don't know.
This kid makes vital mistakes. So he brings some chips and an aluminum can. I don't know if it's a soda or something. He brings it to as a peace offering to give some to Kenji because he's tied up and stuff. His hands are taped up so he can't use his powers. So they have a little bit of dialogue about how Frenchie tells him how he cares about Kimiko and he wants to help her and all this and all that. So he gives Kenji a drink and he sips some or whatever, and then he asks something about he wants to help, and Kenji's like F you whatever. So Frenchie backs off. He puts the chips in the aluminum can on like the shelf in that room. He walks out. Well, Kenji uses his powers. He loosens his hands and it's like maybe a finger or two out. He finds a way to like maneuver the can from the shelf to him,
like Vader.
Yeah, like Vader. Yeah, and like and he makeshifts the can to as a cutting module to get out of there, and then all havoc reeks after that. But one thing I find interesting, and I can't remember if it's episode 1 or 2, but I know Kenji and Kimiko are talking. It gives you a kind of a background of like what they went through, because we all know Kimiko can't talk, but we kind of find out why. She basically did a vow of silence after her parents were killed, and her and Kenji created this language to communicate with each other, which I thought was really, really dope. So,
which fun trivia fact, actress Karen Fukuhara, who plays Kimiko, she actually worked with a sign language specialist in order to create this new creative way of dialogue with one another. So it literally is a real made up, language, if you will, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Right. I've got to defend Frenchie for a moment here.
Oh Lord, go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's happening. So, in defense of Frenchie, he's the heart of the group. But not only is he the heart of the group, his chaos that he unleashes unwittingly has brought some of the best advantages in situations for the boys. For example, Kimiko being one of them. Had they gone the other route, Kimiko would not be part of the boys. Frenchie'd be dead. We could probably keep going on down the train of where they would be if he hadn't done that. And also, they would probably be apprehended right now with that when the helicopter was there if her brother had not gotten free because he took the helicopter down. So
that's fair.
It's kind of like in a weird way his mistakes benefit them, and I think the reason that they do is because he's doing it from a good place, from the heart. So just defending him in that with regards to that.
So is there sexual tension between Kimiko and Frenchie, or am I just imagining that?
I think it's more like brother sister kind of connection, if that's what you're referring to, as opposed to like physical connection. Because I mean, Frenchie, as we saw in episode 1, his girlfriend ish is still in the picture.
Yuri.
Yeah, she's still kind of in the picture. She's around at least.
I saw her in episode 1 of this season. Like, very briefly when he was going to arms.
But I think Frenchie and Kimiko, they have more in common because of their upbringing, because of the abuse that they endured growing up, and I think that brings them closer together.
Yeah.
So Frank, you're shipping them right now. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm what?
You're shipping them right now.
I'm just saying, man. I feel like there's more to come. There's more to come with that, and like it's beyond sexual. I think it's really more of a. I think he loves her. I really think he does, and I think old girl, his paramour is away for right now.
Frenchie refers to Kimiko as mon cœur, which in French in English it translates to my love, basically. So it's not like one of those terms of endearment. I don't believe. I think there's a deeper meaning behind it. I think he really sincerely loves her, but not maybe in the way that he loves Cherie or what have you. But I want to keep on going talking about this. So Kenji, as y'all said, he takes down the NYPD chopper that's coming to apprehend the boys on the boat called My Big Wet Dream. That's actually the real name of the boat that was used for this episode. Like it's the real name, which I think is hilarious. So the boys are getting away in a speedboat and enter the deep. He's gone through the church as a collective. He's been given the okay to try to return to make his way back into the 7. and he does so in a very fantastic fashion. George, let's let's talk about that.
Yeah, he comes in as heroic as all, using all his fish buddies and dolphins and every animal you can think of.
You could say he knows how to make a splash.
Oh, you beat me to it. That was a good one. Yeah. So basically, he comes in and he's trying to redeem himself, and he really wants to get back into the seven. And we see him like riding this whale majestically, like he's gonna completely stop them, and then he blocks him off to the storm drain that they're gonna go into. And for a second, he thinks he's won. He thinks that like that's it. Like I blocked them. They're not gonna do anything. And of course, the boys are in that speedboat now. They transferred into a little speedboat instead of the big yacht that they were in. And they're just zooming, they're hauling ass, and they ram right through and kill this poor innocent whale.
Lucy!
And Lucy, there you go. That was her name, Lucy. But the funniest part that I think that made it more hilarious is how the Deep was standing like on that, and then you see the water like splashing over him, like he was doing this and everything, and then you just see them ram right through the whale, and I was like, oh my god, that was gruesome. I didn't really laugh at that one, so I do have a heart, guys. So that one was pretty bad.
You laughed at the dolphin.
The dolphin was hilarious.
That was fun. This one was just kind of gruesome, but
Basically.
Well, it could be that it was very gruesome, but this one we saw coming because we'd seen the trailer already. So
yes, that's true, and we saw the clip already. But
Yeah.
I guess I have a question for you guys: is that how did they get the Deep or the church or the collective, whatever? How did they get that information so fast, and how was he able to get there before the seven?
That's a good question, and I think because, like the boys can get intel from different people, I think the Church of the Collective, again, it's a very mysterious religious organization, supposedly. They probably have inside...
They've got sponsorship with Fresca.
Yeah, that's all
big
that
time.
matters.
They've got people on the inside to, who knows how many organizations that can, pass along intel. Who knows, really? I just know about that much.
That's the only thing I was curious about. I was like, and for him to be able to get to the ocean and like beat everyone there, like these dudes can fly, like they can literally just get there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and at this point, the boys have plowed through Lucy. Unfortunately, they're going to make their escape to the storm drain as the seven arrive, because Mr. Edgar, who again, bought news breakout of Compound V and all that, he thinks, okay, if I send the Soups to go take out this terrorist, it's going to change the narrative of Soups and what have you, which hopefully goes in his favor. So the seven are going to reunite with the Deep for the very first time since he's left, and the Deep's not really welcome back with open arms. Starlight has words with him. Stormfront basically calls Deep an idiot for joining the Church of the Collective, and Homelander tells Deep to hang back. They got this, and to cover up his gill because it's disgusting. And so my question to you guys is, how do you think Deep is going to go back into his old ways, or is he going to continue moving forward with his newfound like self-love and awareness for himself? Like, what do y'all make of that?
Depends on how much he likes Fresca.
Justin, I'm gonna pick on you and about that question. Do you think the Deep is gonna go back to his old ways just to get back in the seven, or do you think he's gonna stay true to his newfound self?
I think he's, like they said, he's on a journey. I think he'll probably kind of stay true to what he's doing right now, or try to continue that. I think he'll have ups and downs with that, because clearly, like, this way of life is so different than what he's accustomed to and what he's, the way he's lived his whole life. But I do think that, they're setting him up to be kind of a sympathetic character from as best you can, someone like that. So, yeah, I think he'll try to, like, you saw like he was trying to like make up with Starlight or with Annie right there, and I don't know. I feel like I don't think he can go back right now. I think he's got to keep going forward. I
agree. And then moving forward, again, seven are going to take on the boys to try to get to the Soup Terrace, and A-Train is still struggling. physically with his health. It looks like every time he tries to take off, he's got heart issues that keep affecting him and whatnot. And then Starlight encounters Huey. Huey's kind of like, oh my God, you heard the voicemail that I left you, that you're my second wind or second wave or whatever the term is. But she blasts him, right? Because of Homelander. Frank. So I'm gonna bring you back in on this conversation. What did you make of the whole Homelander telling Starlight, hey, you got to kill Huey or else I'm going to kill you, and everything that transpired after that?
Yeah, I'm confused by that because I thought Starlight was bulletproof.
Bulletproof, but can she survive his lasers?
I mean, she's powerful. She's one of the more powerful beings in this world. So I don't know why she's so afraid of Homelander, but that was very interesting because we know there's this love interest between Starlight and Huey, and she was gonna off that dude. Like, I was surprised how she was about to off him until Butcher came in, because I figured that she was gonna like fight Homelander, and I thought it was gonna be like a big old battle. So when Butcher stepped in, it kind of shows you how Butcher still kind of rocks with Huey, and he in his own selfish, self-centered way, he still cares for Huey, and had he not done that, Huey would have died. But I'm just confused. I want to know how durable a Starlight really is, because they talk about how she's bulletproof. They talk about how she's one of the more powerful beings on Earth, but doesn't really demonstrate that as far as stepping up against other comparable powerful heroes like Homelander. So I don't know. Maybe she is susceptible to laser beams or whatever. But
yeah, that's the only explanation I can give. But the very fact that there's this conflict between Butcher and Huey, and Butcher steps up and unleashes Kenji, if you will, to take out Homelander by using his powers to bring down the ceiling on Homelander, and then ultimately escapes. I mean, that to me, like, I don't remember who I was talking about. I think it might have been George. We were talking about this, that even though Huey left the message for Starlight, you're my second wind, it was kind of more like it was really Butcher in a way. What do you make of that?
I agree. I think the constant infighting and constant who has control of the boys' team is prevalent in season 2, but I think it's quickly put to rest when Butcher saves Huey's life. Like, dude, it was a way of saying, dude, don't you forget, I created this damn team. Don't get it twisted. You're not the boss. I am. I make the calls. But I'm rambling right now.
Much like Homelander about the 7, Ashley wanted to bring in Blind Spot, and Homelander's like, I get to decide who goes into the 7, but then Edgar comes in and says, no, I get to decide who comes into the 7. So like, there's all those complexities of who's really in charge of whom, and who's gonna outdo whom. And then kind of speaking about that, Nathan, I'm gonna go to you because I know you enjoy talking about Stormfront. She's now going after Kenji and also Kimiko because she's gonna go and try to protect her brother. Stormfront or Kimiko? Who would win?
1v1. I kind of have to honestly say Stormfront, simply because she's already shown she has considerable strength, kind of similar to that of Homelander. Instead of lasers, she's got lightning. Kimiko, I mean, the real question is, what is win? Like, she could probably win to the point of subdual of Kimiko, but I don't know if she could kill her because we don't know the extent of her regenerative powers. But just the fact that she can fly.
Yes, we do. She basically got severed in half by Black Noir in season 1.
Yeah, but what if she's disintegrated and all that's left is a pinky? Does she come back from that? I mean, at what point is there no return? And we don't know to what effect, to what degree that Stormfront can use the lightning. Can she incinerate with that lightning? We don't know. Her abilities haven't been tested, but as far as Stormfront goes, this particular scene we're talking about, with the battle between Stormfront and Kimiko while Stormfront's going after Kenji, it reveals even more about Stormfront as she takes the time when she goes in this apartment. She's chasing through this apartment complex to kill a family. It
An
should be
innocent-
noted, an innocent family. It should be noted the family was black. One of the very first things we ever hear Stormfront say when she first meets Homelander is she likes his blue eyes. And this is what I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Is I don't know if you noticed when you rewatch. I haven't rewatched the rest, but I know in the first episode there's several notices of Liberty, and Liberty was the character that Mallory, the hero that Mallory was talking about. We learned that Vought was from the 40s, which we kind of knew from the comics. And Vought was a German scientist who defected to the U.S. So the question is, and we know that Soldier Boy was from the 40s, from World War II. And we know he's in season 3. So my question is, and I know in the comics, Stormfront was also from that era. So are they holding with that concept? And is she actually Liberty? Is she kind of immortal, as in she doesn't age and she just changes her name every so often? Before she was Liberty, now she's Stormfront. So I'm curious what they're doing with that. But the one thing they have made clear is she is definitely racist AF.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it if there was any question of it before that in episode 3 during that apartment scene, it becomes really clear because there was absolutely no reason to kill those people.
Well, and not just the family that you discussed, the man that was walking in the stairwell as Kenji and Kimiko were trying to escape. She just blasts him out the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, she makes a very, very distinctive racial slur to Kenji after she broke his wrists, so he can't use his powers anymore. But she's trying to like break his neck, but she's doing so very, sadistic like. She likes to see the light leave, their eyes, right? And she says what she says and then kills him. So now, because Kimiko has witnessed the death of her brother, now, Stormfront's on her shit list, right? At the very end of this, or towards the end of this, because Homelander had told the Seven, leave the terrorist to me. But he was nowhere to be found because he was under rubble. And Stormfront calls him Gramps, like, lose you lose, sucker, F you. But now we're seeing a dynamic shift in the dynamic of Homelander's not at the front of this news conference that's being held at Samaritan's Embrace, where the Seven are passing out like boxes. And George, I want to talk with you about this because, due to the things that we obviously just saw with Stormfront being very racist, what have you, she seems to kind of invoke some Homelander tendencies during the news conference, right?
Yeah.
What did you make of that whole scene?
That's true. I think like he's just trying to manipulate and like make it work to Vought's advantage, and just trying to save his ass and the company's ass with everything that was happening before everything leaked. So it's very Homelander-esque how you said, how he plays it and how he tries to present it to the public.
Right, but Stormfront, when she gets behind the mics and says, thank you, but you know who the real heroes are. Everyone behind us. That's
I thought you were talking about Edgar. I thought you were talking about Edgar, my bad.
No, but Edgar too. Edgar would probably put Homelander at the front to say, hey, spin this, say it this way. But no, now we have Stormfront.
Oh, okay.
Stormfront's
Yeah. No, you're right.
kind of stepping in. Frank, Justin, y'all have comments on that about Stormfront, possibly moving into a more leadership, leader type role?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like the Seven, like any other job or corporation, bosses have favorites. You saw season 1, Stillwell, Homelander was Stillwell's favorite. How she always made it hard on him and prepped him to be the leader and had him in corporate branding and everything. Now that Stillwell's gone, what's John Collar's character's name again? The guy, the Edgar, yes. Now Edgar Edgar is the polar opposite. Edgar does not like Homelander. He's a man child. He's reckless. He doesn't listen. You can tell that he's trying to mold Stormfront as the new potential leader to the group. And with the change of leader, not really the change of leadership, but we're still out of the way now. Homelander pretty much wrote his own epitaph by murdering the one person that was in his corner. Now Edgar is prepping Stormfront to be the the hero to save the day and making her the poster child of the Seven, and it's very, very interesting.
Yep, I agree. Justin, you've got anything to add to that, or?
I mean, it seems like for sure Stormfront is like handpicked by Edgar. You know, like that's his successor to Homelander, I believe. And you know, it's like kind of what Nathan was talking about earlier. Like, you know, the Vought has Nazi Germany ties. You know, so that all makes sense. I didn't realize the comment about the blue eyes until Nathan just mentioned that. That makes a lot of sense. It definitely seems like she's like this, you know, Nazi Germany invention or monster or something that's that Vought is using, you know, in 2020. So
Yeah, that's a really good point that Nathan brought up. So, but that pretty much covers the first 3 episodes of season 2 of The Boys. I know we went probably a little over than what we initially do our episodes, but you know, kind of had to go through all of it just to get ready for this upcoming episode 4, which is going to, well, you know, the first 3 episodes dropped last Thursday when it had a Friday premiere day, which is kind of odd. So who knows at this point when they'll actually drop? Maybe it'll be tomorrow. Just saying. But yeah.
All right. Well,
The
everyone.
moderator.
Justin, are we about done here? Is this a wrap?
I think we're good to go. Yeah, so we'll be back next week for episode 4. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the episode.
Same here. All right, everybody. Till next time.
Don't forget to
Later, guys.
follow us on social media.
Absolutely.